Okay, in this video we're going to be looking at a range of other supply-side factors, which include bankruptcy rates, participation rates, industrial disputes, and climatic and geopolitical events. This one doesn't come up as much, but it's still worth knowing. Very much common in multiple choice questions. You need to know that it's a supply-side factor. So business bankruptcy rates refers to the amount of closures that are occurring due to a lack of profitability. And the more businesses that close, essentially that will reduce a country's productive capacity. So the more businesses that close, the higher the level of unemployment and the lower of supply potential of a nation, because essentially we've got less firms supplying goods and services. So higher business bankruptcies will slow domestic economic activity as firms close down, which will lower aggregate supply. So less people will be working and resources being used. There'll be less competition. You might see firms having higher production costs purely because of the lack of competition. And what this is going to happen is this is going to place pressure on prices due to a lack of supply, so there'll be less supply available, and that can lead to shortages, it can lead to higher prices, and can lead to higher inflation. And all of this will lead to a reduction in aggregate supply, less international competitiveness because prices are higher, potentially leads according to a contraction in demand, lower international competitiveness, less consumption expenditure, less employment within the economy. So again, not one that gets tested on a lot, but you need to know that it lowers our productive capacity, lowers the level of competition, increases unemployment, shifts supply to the left, and leads to lower international competitiveness. Participation rates is a key one, and we've talked about this a little bit when we talked about taxes, and we'll talk about it again when we look at an ageing population. But basically a participation rate is the percentage of labour supplies as a percentage of the total labour available. The exact definition is the percentage of people employed to have a job plus unemployed looking for work as a percentage of all the people over 15. So if there's a higher participation rate, it means that more people over 15 are looking for a job or want to work. And the good thing about having a large labour supply is essentially it's increasing the competition for jobs. So if Australia's participation rates were at 90%, basically what we're saying is that 90% of people above 15 years of age are looking for work. That puts heaps of competition on the spots for jobs and places downward pressure on labour costs because businesses have more choice in who they employ. It also makes workers more productive because they know they need to work harder to keep their jobs because there's such a big labour force, there's a high chance that they will lose their job. That's why a lot of people complain about immigration, is because it boosts the size of our labour force and can often mean that we have to work more productively or that they'll just hire foreign immigrants. So a lot of people complain about having a large labour supply because they want there to be skill shortages so they can generate a higher wage. But a higher participation rate is a favourable supply-side factor because it keeps competition higher for jobs, makes businesses work more productively, and it helps to lower real unit labour costs. And because of the lower wages and the higher productivity. It's got like a double positive. So looser labour markets, there's less skill shortages, lower wages, higher productivity. So the unit labour costs go down, productivity goes up, and real unit labour costs fall. Lower real unit labour costs should help to lower costs of production and reduce prices. So when you're making the link to aggregate demand, again, there will be an expansion in demand because lower production costs, firms are more profitable, but also they will have lower prices, and that leads to increased international competitiveness, increased exports, increased employment within Australia, increased incomes in the long term perhaps, and therefore helps to expand aggregate demand. I probably wouldn't make the link from income because we're already saying that there's more competition to lower incomes, but higher participation rates keep productivity high, wages low, and boost our international competitiveness and boost demand for exports. Supply side factor shifts supply, expansion in demand. Industrial disputes. Okay, this is when employees and employees are having a disagreement about the wages and conditions at a workplace. So it might be workers going on strike. It may involve work stop meetings where basically people get together or employees get together to stop work. It's as simple as that. Other things might include workers preventing suppliers from entering the premises so that they can't do their daily activities. So basically workers being difficult to work with. It leads to lots of lost working hours. It leads to lower productivity because these people aren't working, and higher costs of production for firms. Because if you still have to pay them, it's going to increase costs of production. Other firms might need to get in casual workers where they have to pay more because their real workers aren't, or their full-time workers aren't doing their job. All of this is going to lead to lower productivity, higher costs of production, and higher prices. And again, it's the same link. All of these have the same link. When supply shifts to the left, that's going to lead to reduced aggregate demand and less investment spending within the economy and lower our international competitiveness. The good thing in Australia is that the level of industrial disputes has gone down significantly. Okay, under a more decentralised system of wages, which is basically about like individual contracts and enterprise bargaining is the main thing used in Australia. But employees are having a more of a say in their wages and conditions, and that's leading to a lot less disputes within individual industries, which is good because it's helping us to waste less time basically and boost productivity and lower production costs. So it's a supply side factor, industrial disputation. We'll talk about this in the next video.